been a little bit since we did a video on this here V8 944 project, but it looks like finally, after a month and a half, we have resolution to our Koni shock problem for the front. So just to recap really quick, the best solution for my vehicle ended up being just replace the Konis with another set. And I found a place that actually sells them from Porsche. The only problem is I got a pair from them and one of them was bad. So they agreed to send me another one. So the next week when they got their order in to replace this pair, the plan was to take the left side strut out, check it, and if it's good, ship it to me. Only problem is, when they pulled it out of the box, just like this set, the left side was bad. So then they got an expedited order in from Porsche in Germany, and when the order came in, I don't know how many shocks were in the order, but I assume at least 2 to replace the bad one and probably another set to put on the shelf. He didn't even bother accepting the shipment because there was oil leaking out of the boxes. So at that point, he said normally what happens when Porsche runs into this kind of problem, they discontinue it. So he expects the Koni yellows to be discontinued in the near future from Porsche. So what we ended up doing was, for the same money, he didn't charge me any extra, he shipped me a pair of rebuilt ones. So these are rebuilt. Basically, they cut the top off here where this cover is, and they drill a hole in the bottom to drain all the juice out of it. And then they put a sleeve, well, a new shock down in there that fits here, and that's what bolts it in the bottom. So these are, rebound adjustable Koni sport shocks, just like these were from the 1980s. One minor difference is that if you look, the spring perch on the old one is lower than the new one. And that's actually going to work out a little better for our purposes, because we were running a 12-inch spring on this, and it was a little bit short, like an inch short, so I didn't have enough room to put the pull one of these things out of the box here. So these are what's going on there. One's already on there, but the one that I was using is it's basically a 12-inch spring with this cap on it. And what would happen when you jack the car up, this would come up a little bit and the spring would fall that way. So when you put the car back down, it would be like that. And so what you had to do was take the weight off of the tires as you're letting it down, then reach in here, pull the spring so it went in like that, and then let the car the rest of the way down. So the way to cure that is with one of these spacers and what they call a helper spring. Basically, this just takes up the difference in height, well, spring length, so that doesn't happen. And this setup didn't really work well on this strut because the height wasn't quite right. The threaded section of the coilover was right at the top to have it at the ride height that I wanted, which is a little dangerous. You want to have it down a little bit. So anyway, the new shocks with this, looks like it's about an inch and a half or so higher spring perch actually works out well. The only thing I had to do to get the collar to fit over this was I had to file the paint off of this. This is basically just a big nut that holds your new shock in there. And I had to remove this rubber thing, which this just covers up the this is where they cut it off. So this is a cover to keep dust out of it. So I put it back on, but the threaded collar actually covers that, so it's kind of up here. But here's what it looks like when it's on there. So there it is. This one's on here. And as you can see, the little helper spring is it's pretty much squished, so the spring isn't loose or anything. And it's not quite at the top. Still got a few threads showing, probably 4 or 5 threads of the threaded collar. And that should be in about the right place. So yeah, that's our solution. And now we can put our camber plates on. So this is just kind of mocked up right now, but that's our camber plate and our little adjuster gadget for the Koni shock. I still got to put the right hardware on here, make sure I put everything together right. I got a little carried away last night. I mocked up the shock and the spring and the helper spring and the spacer thing and all that stuff, and figured like, well, I'll come back and work on it a little later. And I was like, well, you know what? It's all together, and I have the other shock off of there, so let me just nail it in there and see how it fits. So if I did everything right, I guess it'll be in there permanent like, but I got to double check everything. So next we'll probably do the other side. But hooray, finally we can finish up with that and move on with our lives. Woohoo, can't wait.